This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
So in the last class, we have just seen the demo part, like the contents what we are going to discuss in our course. The course what we are going to learn is what here? Full stack Java, where we go with the contents like core Java. Then we go with the web technologies. We go with the advanced Java. And we go with the frameworks and some of the real-time tools. And we go with the project. Okay. So these are the contents we discuss in our course. Then frameworks, we go with the Spring and Hibernate. Spring. Okay. Even we go with the web services and we discuss microservices. Hope you got the recordings of all the previous classes. Okay. So you can go through that if you are totally new to this course now. And even we discussed about the programming concepts. We discussed about the programming concepts in the last class. Like we discussed about the meaning of what is a program, what is comment, what is a variable, what is data type, and what is the need of declaration of variable, and we have seen about methods or functions. A brief only, just have done a brief idea about all these words, only brief idea. And once we come to the basics of Java, then again we are going to rediscuss all these things once again using Java technology. Right. So today objective is, let us start off with Java introduction. Let us go with Java introduction. So before we go to this Java, let me ask one small question. Whenever we are developing software applications, we are having two approaches to develop software applications. One is structured approach and one more is object-oriented approach. Structured programming, object-oriented programming. So can anyone take the examples which follow structured programming? Which programming languages are structured programming? Anyone?
Hi.
Yeah, it's Python.
So Rani shared me this meeting ID.
Okay, right.
Okay.
So which programming languages follow structured?
C language.
Yeah, very good. C language, Pascal, COBOL, all older languages. Pascal, COBOL, all older. And coming to object-oriented, which are object-oriented programming languages?
Python, C++.
C++.
Right. Yeah, C++, Python, Java, PHP, all this comes under object-oriented. So Java comes under what? Object-oriented. You can say Java is an object-oriented programming language. Java is what? Object-oriented programming language developed by James Gosling. Developed by James Gosling at Sun Microsystems. Where? At Sun Microsystems. This Sun Microsystems is acquired by which company now? Any idea? Java
Oracle.
is a product company. Very good. So it's acquired by Oracle Corporation, and it was done in 2010. Now, since Java is object-oriented programming language, so before we enter into Java, we should have a basic idea of object-oriented concepts. So we are having 6 important object-oriented concepts. Even we call them as features. They are objects, classes, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. Inheritance and polymorphism. These are the 6 important features of object-oriented. In order to enter into Java, we should have a basic idea of what is object, what is class. That's it. In order to enter into Java, we should have basic idea on what? Object and class. So today the objective is, we'll discuss what is object and what is class. And all these features we are going to discuss once again using Java programming, and that will take near to 4 to 5 classes for us. Right. Let us start off with the first term, object. The meaning of object is like any real-time entity. Any real-time entity is an object where you are able to give at least one feature. If you are able to give at least one feature, we call it as an object. Okay. Like example, if you take a laptop, what features do you see in laptop before you purchase? What do you check? What do you check?
How's the storage,
Right, the
battery
storage.
level?
Yeah, right, Amal. Hard disk, the screen size, the color, the model,
Yeah.
the make, the price. Okay, these all things we check. These only we call properties or feature. If you are having at least one feature, then we call it as what? Object. So how to define an object is like, an object is a real-time entity which has identity, state, and behavior. Which has what? Identity, state, and behavior. Now, let me elaborate what is this identity, state, and behavior using a diagram. Let me go with a diagram here. Here we are trying to understand the meaning of object. Right. Let us consider an object like a car. Item car. Now, when you take a car, how to identify a car uniquely? By using the registration number, like some number. Okay. Then. Now, for a car, we go with the state. The meaning of state is like the properties what we give to the car. The properties what we give to the car, that is called as what? State. So what properties we can go to the car? What we can give? The model of the car, the make, then the color, price, capacity, like this, the fuel type like this. Okay. Engine capacity, sitting capacity, the fuel type like petrol or diesel. Okay. So the features whatever we see in the car, we call them as what? State. And this state, we can even call it as variables or data members. This state, even we call it as what? Variables are data members, are properties, are fields, are attributes. So different people use different terminology. I'm giving all the terminologies here. For a car, we go with the behavior. The meaning of behavior is the actions what we perform, what we can do with car. So can anyone say what we can do with car? What we can do with car? We can drive. Functionalities. We can drive. We can apply brake. We can change gear. We can reverse. We can stop, like this. The actions whatever you are performing, that only we call behavior. This behavior we can even call it as methods or functions or operations. This behavior we can even call it as what? Methods or functions or operations. Right? So what is an object? An object is a real-time entity which has ID, state and behavior. Got it everyone? Any questions? No. Let us move to the next one. Class. The meaning of class is like a class is a collection of data members and methods. Means the state of your object will act as data members inside your class. The behavior will act as methods. Let us understand with the example. If you take a class person, then how to create a class? We have to take a keyword. Class is a keyword. What do you mean by keyword? A predefined word where your language can understand. So we take a class and the name of the class, like person, customer, student, employee. Then open and close curly braces. Means the class begins at this open curly brace and closes at closing curly brace. This curly braces we call it as scope. We use the terminology scope. So the scope of the class begins here and ends over here. Then in a class we go with what? Data members. So for a person what we go? We can go with the age of the person. We can go with the name of the person. We can go with the height of the person, like this. You can go with the name, age, name and height. When you take age, in age, what type of data we store? We generally store an integer value. So what do you mean by integer? A numeric value without any decimal point, like 20, 30, 40, 45, like that. Then in name, we go with a string. The meaning of string is like collection of characters. Collection of characters only we call string. Then height, we generally store a value with a decimal point, like 5.9. So when you are storing a numeric value with a decimal point, what is the type of data we have to use? Float. Okay. So in the last class, I discussed about the basic data types like this. So when we enter into basics, I'll discuss more on data types once again properly. Okay. So a class goes with some data members and methods. Like what a person can do, a person can eat with some code inside. So whenever we say method, we take the method name and we end with parentheses and open and close curly brace. Curly brace represents what? Scope, means where the method starts and where the method ends. Void work, like this. So the operations what we perform only we call them as methods. The actions what we do, they are methods. Now, understand carefully, this is the major point to enter into Java. Once we create a class with some data members and methods, then outside of the class, what do you mean by outside? After this curly braces, if you write here like age equal to 20, this will go with error. We cannot access these members outside of class directly. This will go with what? Error. Then how to access these members outside of class? That's a major point to enter into Java. So what is the point here? The members of the class, when you say members, it can be your data members or it can be your methods. The members of the class are accessed using objects with a dot operator. Using objects with dot operator. So what is the point here? The members of the class. Members means it can be our data members or methods are accessed using what? With dot operator. So once you create a class like this, class name, the variables whatever we are writing, that only we call data members. Like age, name and height, we call them as data members. And the methods are like the operations what you perform, like eat, walk. So once we create a class with some members, if I want to access these members outside, it goes with error directly. Then how to access members? The members of class are accessed using what? Using objects with the dot operator. Then how to create object here? Creating object. So how to create object is, the syntax is, what do you mean by syntax? Rules of language. How to create object is, we have to go with the class name, then object name equal to new class name. Class name, object name equal to new class name. Right? Like example. What is the name of the class we have created above? Person. Name of the class is what? Person. Then right here, person p equal to new person, where new is a keyword here. So in this one, p is an object of class person. P is what? It's an object of class person. Okay. Then by using this object with the dot operator, now we can give value to age. By using p with the dot operator, now we can give value to name. Since name is of type string, the value should go in double quotes. By using this object, we can give value to height. By using object, we can call the method eat. When you say p.eat, the control will jump to this eat method and the code in eat method will get executed. Similar way, p.work, like this. By using object only, with the dot operator, we can access the members of the class. That's the main point what I require to enter into Java. Clear everyone? Any questions?
So you cannot say the person dot age, right? You always have to assign an object as a P.
Right.
Oh,
We have to create an object. Okay. So we can even say person.age, but we have to follow some other syntax. We'll discuss that one later. Okay.
okay. Thank you.
Anyone having any questions up to here? Mhm. Right. Now let us understand these two terms with one more good example, a simple basic idea. Like even though we discuss what is class, what is object, people will get confused. How to know which is object, how to know which is class. Okay, so for that, let me take one small scenario. So let us suppose a client is coming to us and giving the requirement. Now we want to develop that application using object oriented. Then the first step is from the given requirement, we should identify the objects, and using objects, we identify the classes. Then we start writing the coding part. So let us do how to identify these objects and classes from the given requirement. Identifying objects and classes. Let us take the scenario like Mr. XXX teaches Java at RRR Technologies. RR Technologies. Then PPP attends Java sessions. PPP attends Java sessions. Then Mrs. XXX teaches testing at the same company. Mrs. XXX teaches for testing at the same company. Then QQQ attends testing sessions. Now, from this requirement, we want to identify the objects. So how to identify the objects over here is, how to identify the objects is the nouns in the scenario. The nouns in the scenario are your objects. The English grammar word noun. So which are nouns here starting from beginning? Teachers is not noun. Teachers is an action. It's a verb.
The names?
The names like Mr. XXX, right? Starting from beginning. Yeah, Mr. XXX. Then Java. Next after that?
Technologies, RR technologies.
That is RRR Technologies. Then
Triple P.
yeah, PPP. Mrs. XXX. Testing and QQQ, right?
I don't think testing will be there.
Yeah, testing is also, it will be there. Testing is a course, right? It's a name of the course. Names are nouns.
Okay.
So testing can be considered as a method, right?
Not method, right? Say, teaches testing. Here in this case, it will be the course name. The course what you are learning. Java,
Okay,
that course what you are learning. Okay, it's a course name, not the process what you are doing in this scenario. Okay, teaches testing, right? Now once we identify the objects, the next step is we need to categorize this. Like categorize means if you take Mr. XXX and Mrs. XXX, what these two are here? What is the role they are playing?
Teachers,
What is the
instructors.
role? They are what? Teachers or instructors or professor or let me say faculty. These two are faculty. Then Java and testing. What these are here? Already I have mentioned subjects or codes or technologies like this. Then RRR, it's a company or institute. Then PPP and QQQ, what these are here? Students. Very good, Ram. Student. These are about student. So these four names, what we got, faculty, course, company, student, these four names only we call them as what? Classes. These only we call classes. So we can even define a class like a class is a collection of A class is what? It's a collection of related objects. Okay. So for this scenario, for this requirement, how many classes we need to create? We have to create totally 4 classes. So the real-time entities, the real existing things are your objects. The generic names what we use, we call them as classes. We call them as what here? Classes. Okay. Hello, Sainath.
Got it, sir.
Right. So a simple example, if you take our example only. So myself, Raj. Raj is an object of class faculty in our scenario. Then like Shiva, Pritika, Maitri, okay, Amal, you people are what? Objects of class student. Okay, if you take our scenario, the real existing things are objects. The generic names what we use, we call them as what here? Classes here. We call them as classes, right? So this is the thing what we discussed today. Yeah, let me just recap what we have done today. Like we have started with the Java introduction. So what is Java here? Java is object-oriented programming language. Who developed this? James Gosling and Sun Microsystems. So this Sun Microsystems is acquired by which company now? Oracle Corporation. So Java is a product of Oracle. So since Java is object-oriented, we are having 6 important object-oriented concepts. They are objects, classes, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So in order to enter into Java, we should have a basic idea what is object, what is class. That's enough. So today the objective is what is object, what is class we have discussed. What is an object? It's a real-time entity which has identity, state, and behavior. What is an object? It's what? It's a real-time entity which has identity, state, and behavior. Like example, if you take this object, like a item car, how to identify car? Uniquely registration number. State means the properties what we give to the car, like make, model, color, price, capacity. So this state we can even call it as variables or data members or properties or fields or attributes. Behavior, the actions what we perform, like drive, apply brake, reverse, like this. This behavior we can even call it as methods or functions or operations, right? Then we have taken the definition class. A class is a collection of data members and methods. A class is what? Data members and methods. Right? Then how to create a class here? How to create a class in Java is by using a keyword class and the name of the class, where we go with some data members like age, name, and height, and with some methods, the actions what we perform, like eat and work. Once we create a class, if I want to access these members of class, what we need to create? Object. By using object with the dot operator, we can access the members of class. This is the point what we require, right? So anyone having any questions up to here?
No.
So let me stop here today, and tomorrow we'll be going with the Java features. Tomorrow we discuss Java features, where we are going to discuss 10 important features of Java. Day after tomorrow, we'll be entering into the practical part, where we'll be seeing how to download Java and install Java on our operating system, and we develop a Java application at command prompt. Okay, so that's a part for next 2 classes.